All right, welcome to video 2 of SketchUp. Hopefully you had a bit of a chance to play around and just look around some models. That's not the most interesting part of SketchUp. We're going to start that this lesson. So I'm going to create a new model. One of the things I'll do this time is I'm going to make my model in meters because I want to make something quite large. So if I choose meters, I'll start up my template and here we go. I've got my measurements in the corner. I've got my lady there on her phone. I don't know who she's talking to. And the first thing we're going to do, just revisiting that tool here, which is going to draw us a rectangle. First thing I'd like you to do is just draw a rectangle. I'm going to draw a rectangle here, and if I look at my measurements column, that rectangle is 1.73 meters wide and 1.34 meters deep. I might want to draw a very specific size rectangle. So there's a little trick you can do to do that. Let's say I want to do a rectangle that is 1 meter by 1/2 meter. So if I go here and I click my rectangle tool and I draw any size rectangle at all, doesn't matter what I draw, as soon as I let go of the mouse, I want to type. I don't want to click anywhere. I don't want to move to the bottom corner. But if I let go of the mouse and I type in 1.0 and then a comma, and 0.5, that's 1 meter by 1/2 meter. When I push enter, that moves to the size I need it to be. So compared to this lady, this rectangle is 1/2 meter deep and 1 meter wide. If I do that again, just to show you, I might do a rectangle over here. I might want to make this one 4 meters long and 3 meters wide. And if I zoom out, there it is. So I've drawn a pretty huge rectangle or next to my much smaller rectangle. All right, let's have a look at the big rectangle over here, and we'll use the tool that becomes much more interesting for SketchUp, and it's this one here. It's the push-pull tool. Now, when we use push and pull, it does exactly that. So if I click that tool, I'm going push and pull, and if I go to the surface here, you'll notice how it's gone all spotted. Well, I can just click the button and lift, and I now have a 3D shape. I've just made quite a large building next to this lady. If I drop it down, I can then click and drag and it will become whatever size I want it to be. While I'm clicking on that surface, if I type 3M, it's now 3 meters. So I've made that cube that has the dimensions I want it to be. I can push pull any surface that I like now. So I can make this rectangle any sort of rectangle that I want it to be. So what we'll do is I'll take you through something I'd like you to do. You can make it your own design, you can do whatever you like with it, but I'll show you a couple of tricks so that we can start building interesting things in SketchUp. Let me just delete everything with the eraser tool. I'm going to go back to my original little 1 meter by 1/2 meter over here. Let's zoom in. Here we go. I have this small rectangle here. I'm going to push pull it to make it a bit larger. What I'm going to do is make a chair for this lady. I'd like you to have a go at making a chair yourself. I'll take you through some nice step-by-step movements, but you can jazz up your chair and do whatever you like to it. I'm just going to make it a little smaller. That looks about chair size. So if I pan around and orbit, it kind of looks wide enough, tall enough for the lady. It's going to come roughly to her back when she sits down. So this is a rectangle. It's not going to be very comfortable to sit on because at the moment it's just a stool. Now, using push-pull, there's a couple of cool things that I can do. If I draw another rectangle, and I draw a rectangle on the face of this large cube, well, it's not a cube, rectangular prism, I can push-pull, and if you notice, I can just push-pull that section of it. So now I've made a gap running straight through my chair just by push pulling and having what I need there. Is there undo? Oh, no, there's not. Okay, let me go back to my design. There. So that's interesting, but not what I want. Oh, here's undo. I'm going to bring that back and I'm going to get rid of the part on it. So to make a chair, there's a couple of different things I can do to make this work really, really well. One of the things is a new tool, which is a drawing tool. And just like you'd expect, it draws lines. So I could draw a line here. Oops, it's zooming in because my mouse is a bit weird. I've now got this rectangle and the bottom rectangle. If I push pull this top face, I now have the start of what looks like a chair. So I can zoom around. You can see it's starting to look a bit like a chair now, basically, just from a couple of clicks. If you missed that, what I'll do is I'll do it again. All I did was get the line drawing. I drew a line from one edge to the other, and then I push-pulled the top. And now I have a backrest for my chair. It looks pretty cool. It's come out quite nicely. I can then do a lot of tricks like that to make the legs. If I wanted to, I could draw a rectangle here and push-pull it back. And now I have what's starting to look more and more like a decent chair. If I wanted to, same thing to make the legs at the front look more like chair legs, I can put a rectangle here, push-pull again, and now my front legs are standing on their own. If I do the same at the back, another rectangle, drag it up, whoops. There's going to be stumpy legs at the back. Push-pull. I now have what looks reasonably like a chair. I'll show you another step to draw the legs if you want a shortcut. I'll go back to my original design. If I go to the bottom of this chair, there's a nice quick option of drawing a rectangle here. Oh, hang on. Whoops, need to change. There we go. A rectangle there. Can be pretty fat legs here. Rectangle there. Rectangle here. And a rectangle there. So I've drawn 4 rectangles or almost squares down the bottom. If I push-pull the base, it makes all 4 legs at once. So playing around a little bit, I've come up with a fairly stocky, chunky looking chair. I'd like you to have a go at using push-pull and having a go at building your own chair. You can make it as fancy, as weird, as interesting as you like. Remember, there are tutorials in this section, the instructor, which will take you through a whole bunch of things that you want to be able to draw. But that is your first task for SketchUp today, is make an interesting chair. Before we go, I'll show you one last very cool thing to help when you make your chair. If you notice here, we have paint tipping out of a paint tin, and that's where we can add colors. So here is our paint bucket tool. If I choose a color like this one, I can just click on any surface and it turns my chair the color that I need. Now, that's a pretty ugly colored chair, so I'll show you one of the things you can also do. If we look at materials and go to the magnifying glass on this side, which is a search or browse tool, I get a big list, once it loads, of a whole heap of different types. So if I wanted a wooden chair, I can scroll down to wood. I can choose a wooden surface that I like, maybe this one here. And when I start filling my chair, I now have a wooden chair. You could make, it's up to you what you'd really like to do. If I wanted, just because I can play around with a whole heap of different things, I could make a carpet chair. I could also, where is it, landscaping vegetation, I could make a chair covered in grass if I wanted to. So have a bit of a play around, save your model, and come up with a design for a chair that you think looks interesting. So just to take you through again, if we make any sort of rectangle at all, we can change the dimensions by typing in the sizes we want, 2 meters, 2 meters. I've now got a 2 meter square. If we push pull, we can increase the size and make it 3D. And then as I go through, I can really draw whatever shapes I want onto the surface of it and push pull. There's push pull to make all sorts of designs in 3 dimensions. Have a play around, see what you can do. If you want to work ahead, get onto YouTube or go onto the SketchUp instructor. Look for your own things to do. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, and send me through any questions if you need to. All right, enjoy your day.